Okay. There we go. Well, it's right 5 o'clock, so I am going to start because I am one that likes to, people that come on time, I like to reward them. So thank you very much. This is our first time that we've had a seminar for foundation chairs and people, for presidents as well, to help them what they can need to know a little bit. So I'm very happy today to have Edina with us as our guest speaker. With it, I am Sandy Chard from the Rotary Club of St. Catharines Lakeshore, and I am your foundation chair. With us today is also Lisa Bishop, our district governor. And I'm going to go right to Edina because a few people have to leave early, and I want to make sure that you're able to get all yours in, because that's probably the most important. So take it away, Edina.
Thanks so much, Sandy. Okay, let me see if I can share my screen here. My name is Edina Mejovic. I am the annual giving officer with the Rotary Foundation for your district and all of Zone 28. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. As I said, all of Zone 28, which includes Michigan, Canada, and all of Alaska. Here I'm having a little issues. There we go. What my job is to engage our donors in the Rotary Foundation, to attract new donors, and to support our leadership, whether that be at the club, district, or regional level, with the annual fund, as well as Polio Plus and endowment fund to some effect also. I'm really happy DRFC Sandy asked me to be here with you today. It gives me a little bit of time to share some information with your district and hopefully answer some questions. Some information you may know already, some you may not. I probably will not see your chat as I'm going through it. So Sandy, if there's a question that comes up, I don't know if you prefer I save them until the end, or if you'd like, feel free to stop me. I'm happy to answer as I go as well. All right, let's get it started. So I like to start with a question to all of you. What would you do? What good could your club or your district do with an additional, let's say, $10,000 in annual fund share DDF coming back to your district to work on local or global projects? So as I go through the information I'm going to share with you today, I kind of want you to think about that a little bit and think of ways that you can increase giving in your club or your district to help you get an additional 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 in DDF to help support your projects. So real briefly, to go over the three funds I mentioned, the annual fund is our primary source of funding for our foundation grants and activities. Our share program, our areas of focus all fall under the annual fund, as does the World Fund. The Polio Plus Fund is dedicated to global polio eradication, and I'm sure everybody on this call has heard about our efforts towards polio eradication, especially with October being Housing World Polio Day. And then, of course, the endowment fund supports our foundation into perpetuity. So as I mentioned, my team works primarily with annual fund, but we do dip our toes in polio and endowment as well. So briefly, to take a look at how your district did in fiscal year 2022, I just want to say all dollar values listed here are US dollars. So in 2022, your annual fund total was just over $258,000. That's up 7% over the previous year. Annual fund per capita giving was also up to $139.64, up from $123.30 the previous year. And your every Rotarian every year percentage was 46.5%. So congratulations to your district. You had a phenomenal year in giving towards the annual fund. And I just want to give you a round of applause for everything that you did last year. Thank you so much. I do want to focus on the district every Rotarian every year percentage, because I think it's an area of opportunity for all of our districts in Zone 28 and many districts around the world. Your district was at 46.5%, and compared to the rest of the zone, it's on average and higher actually than a good amount of districts in Zone 28. But even so, this is an area of opportunity that we can continue to focus on and grow so that we can continue raising funds towards share, and in turn doing that good in your district and global communities. And that previous slide, that $10,000 that I mentioned, this is one way to help you get those additional funds, is by increasing the amount of donors that are giving to the annual fund. And just a quick snapshot of your first quarter of the Rotary year. Annual fund, you're just over 40,000. These figures are through September. Our books haven't closed for October just yet. Year-to-date percentage change, 11.8%. So it's a great start to the Rotary year. $22.19 per capita, and that every Rotarian every year percentage for the first quarter is 5.8%. So we have some really big months coming up, with December, March, May, and June being our largest donor months of the year. I'd share these 4 categories because they're markers for success in annual fund giving in your district, and continuing to focus on them collectively while promoting the annual fund will help ensure district success. So I keep mentioning every Rotarian every year percentage, and I'm going to refer to it as E-rate percentage moving forward. And many of you are likely familiar with the annual fund initiative that started a few years ago called Every Rotarian Every Year. The goal of it is to encourage support of the annual fund and increase Rotarian engagement with the foundation. The idea behind this is that if every Rotarian gave at least $25 to the annual fund yearly, what the foundation could accomplish would multiply. And of course, the statistics that you see here, they're a little bit delayed. We don't have 21-22 available just yet, but even so, they're fairly impressive with what we accomplished in fiscal year 2020-21. So imagine all the good that 70-90 could do if we increase that E-rate percentage from that 46.5% to 75%, 80%, or even 100% of all of your donors giving at least $25 to the foundation. One thing I like to suggest as club leaders is that you celebrate your donors that give to the foundation and that give to the annual fund specifically. There's E-rate stickers available that you can affix to your donors' badges once they meet that criteria. And you can order those through Russell Hampton at bestclubsupplies.com, and they are free of charge. It's a nice way to spur the culture of giving and the conversation around every Rotarian every year. And many of you have heard of sustaining members, and without the sustained support of the annual fund, the programs of the foundation cannot happen. With contributions of $100 from every member every year, we can nearly double the efforts to help people in need. Someone who contributes $100 or more to the annual fund every year is called a Rotary Foundation sustaining member. And a simple way to do that is using Rotary Direct, our recurring giving program, for $10 US per month. You could achieve, or any of your members could achieve, that sustaining member status. And we'll talk about Rotary Direct a little more a little later. Our donors' philanthropic goals vary. And of course, we have recognition levels all over the place to recognize no matter what your philanthropic goals are. But I want to touch on 2 of our most well-known recognitions, and those are the Paul Harris Fellow and the Paul Harris Society. And I would like to stop here and say thank you to everyone on this call who is a Paul Harris Fellow and who is a member of our Paul Harris Society. The Paul Harris Fellow is achieved through a combination of points and dollars given by a donor. Points given to a donor and dollars that they contribute. Contributions to the annual fund, Polio Plus, approved global grants, and disaster response fund accumulate Paul Harris Fellow recognition and foundation recognition points. However, contributions to the endowment fund do not accumulate credit towards Paul Harris Fellows. Once a participant reaches $1,000 or point level through the combination of points and dollars, recognition is automatically sent to the club president. And it is sent to the club president every time a donor achieves a new level, all the way up to Paul Harris Fellow plus 8. Now, the Paul Harris Society is a little bit different, and these 2 are often confused and interchanged between the 2. The Paul Harris Society is a commitment to give annually $1,000 to the annual fund, Polio Plus, disaster response, or an approved global grant. And here I've included some statistics for your district for Paul Harris Society. Paul Harris Society in District 7090 has 57 donors enrolled, And 57% of those 57 donors are meeting their Paul Harris Society commitment to donate $1,000 or more. And note, this is slightly above the worldwide average, so fantastic job. As club leaders and district leaders, you do have an opportunity here to reach out to those individuals in your clubs who are Paul Harris Society members and say thank you, or to those that are giving at the eligible rate of $1,000 a year and ask them if they would like to join the Paul Harris Society. The Paul Harris Society is an important segment to the Rotary Foundation, and about 18%, between 18 and 19% of our donations to the annual fund come from our Paul Harris Society members. Again, an easy way to meet this commitment also is through Rotary Direct, and that's at $85 US per month approximately. It's a simpler way than giving an outright cash gift of $1,000. And of course, we have club recognition available of all sorts. Here are some of our banners that we offer. We offer the 100% Foundation Giving banner, which recognizes clubs in which every member gives at least $25 to any fund of the foundation. That includes annual fund, Polio Plus fund, global grants, and endowment fund. And there has to be an average of $100 in the club. So 25 per member and $100 average to any fund. The Every Rotarian Every Year Club banner recognizes clubs with members that give $25 to the annual fund. Each member gives $25 to the annual fund with a per capita average of $100 to the annual fund. The 100% Paul Harris Fellow Club banner recognizes clubs whose active members are all Paul Harris Fellows at the time when the district governor requests the banner. This is a banner that clubs can earn only one time. And 100% Paul Harris Society Club banner recognizes clubs in which every member is a member of the Paul Harris Society and has met that commitment for that Rotary year. A report that you can use to find out the status of your club is the Club Foundation, or your club banner is the Club Foundation banner report. Now, two of the easiest ways and most secure ways for our donors to support our foundation is through Rotary Direct and our online giving platform. Rotary Direct is our recurring giving program that you've heard me mention a couple of times already. And this platform allows our donors to enroll in automated giving via credit card or checking account. And this can be done on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis. This is a great alternative to sending in several checks a year and worrying about making an annual contribution on time. Rotary Direct continues to see significant growth, and through September, we were just under 24,000 participants enrolled, and that's a 7.2% increase over the previous year. District 7090 has 113 members enrolled in Rotary Direct. That's around 7.3% of your district membership. Here we need your support as club leaders to educate your members and encourage them to enroll in this program. You can do something like set up a laptop during a club meeting and have a Rotary Direct enrollment drive, or if your club has a lot of points, you can offer to match 100 or to give 100 points to everyone that enrolls in Rotary Direct. It's an easy way to incentivize members to enroll in this feature. If I could just suggest one thing, when you have your members enrolling in Rotary Direct, ask that they enroll in Rotary Direct towards annual fund share, just to ensure that those funds are coming back to your club and district for use for future grants. Our online giving platform is also an option for our donors. Utilization of our online giving platform has increased about 11.1% in the last year and over 30% the previous year, of course, during the pandemic, the first pandemic year. It does show that our donors are adapting to using technology and giving online. It is the best and fastest way for a contribution to be processed and posted. And it also makes sure that you don't miss those deadlines at the end of the year. Unlike when you send a check, you don't know if it's going to get here on time or if it will be postmarked on time. If you go online, that transaction will be posted with today's giving date. This is also where our donors can sign up for Rotary Direct. Our online giving platform also offers a way for members to make memorial and tribute gifts. And as club officers, you have the ability here to donate on behalf of your club or your club members. Instead of sending in a multiple donor form, you can go online if there's a club credit card, or if you'd like to use your credit card, and just plop in the amounts and you're set to go. Now, I do hear concerns here usually from foundation officers or club presidents or treasurers, and they'll say, but I can't tell who's given if they go online and give, or if they're enrolled in Rotary Direct. I don't know if we've met our goals for individual giving. Well, there is a wonderful report that's available that can help you with that, and it's called the Contribution Detail Report. It helps club leaders track giving in your clubs. Additionally, it helps if you have any matching points campaign, so you can tell who's given what amount for that year. The report is broken down into 3 tabs, as you see on the bottom. There's the the fund summary, the donor summary, and the donor detail. The fund summary shows what I show here on the snapshot. It's a breakdown of giving to each fund based on your club or district, depending on how you pull it. The donor summary summarizes giving by each donor to Annual Fund, Polio Plus, and the Endowment Fund for the Rotary year. And the donor detail has a breakdown which includes donor name, gift date, gift method, gift amount, and fund designation. The donor detail is more like a transaction detail that shows an accounting of every contribution that came in for your club or district for that year. The one downfall to this report is that it has to be requested either through myself or the Rotary Support Center, and you can request it from the Rotary Support Center by contacting them via phone or email. If you contact them by phone, they'll have that report to you probably within an hour. If you contact them by email, their response is 24 hours, the response time. And I do also have a little blurb highlighted on the report that shows that this report does contain some personal data, and we ask that you be aware of Rotary's donor privacy policy when you're using this report. Please don't share it with anyone outside of your club leadership, and when you're done using it, make sure that you shred it or that you delete it from your inbox. Now, I want to share a little bit about how to access reports, and hopefully, this is the point where I say, hopefully everyone on this call has a My Rotary account. If you don't have one, please, when we finish, go online, sign up for My Rotary, or sign up for a My Rotary account on Rotary.org. You'll be able to access so much information on your club. So when you log into My Rotary, you're going to go ahead and hover over the Rotary Foundation. Don't click on it. Just hover, and this drop down to the left will appear. And there you're going to click on Foundation Reports. That will take you to this reports page. As a quick note also, here you can run your own personal donor history report, which is located at the top. If you'd like to see where you stand with giving to the Rotary Foundation, or your Paul Harris Fellow, or a transaction detail. So to get to the fundraising reports, you're going to scroll down. And then when you get down here, you're going to go to this contributions and recognition section. Before we get into the reports, though, I do want to share a cool little trick that you can do here. You see that little star? Sorry, apologize about that. My phone's ringing over here. That little star allows you to quick link reports. So what that means is that you can have them added to your landing page on My Rotary, or in the upper right-hand corner of this reports section, so you don't have to scroll and look for that. And the way that you do that is you just turn that little star into a purple star, and it's added to your quick links. Today, I'm going to go over 2 reports briefly. These are the reports you'll most likely be using in your role as a club officer, and those are the Club Recognition Summary and the Club Foundation Banner Report. Let's start with the Club Recognition Summary. I talked briefly about Rotary Direct, and club leaders can view who's enrolled in Rotary Direct here on this report. It's important to keep in mind that this report is a recognition report and not a contribution report. The Club Recognition Summary is a favorite of club leaders, and it helps with information such as how many foundation recognition points the club has available, as well as how many foundation recognition points each Rotarian in your club has available. Foundation recognition points are awarded in appreciation for personal contributions from an individual or an organization, and they can only be used to transfer to other individuals to help them achieve their first or multiple Paul Harris Fellow recognition. Or you can also transfer them to recognize a business with a certificate of appreciation. Points accumulate 1 point for every dollar contributed. The recognition amount here indicates how close the donor is to achieving their next Paul Harris Fellow. As I mentioned earlier, gifts to the endowment fund are not eligible for Paul Harris Fellow recognition and will not be included in this column. This report is intended for tracking recognition and points, and for confidentiality reasons, this report will not display any recognition amounts over 9,000. If a club has achieved 100% Paul Harris Fellow Club banner, it will appear right up here under the club name. And lastly, you can view everyone's last contribution date and the fund that they gave to on this report, as well as the all-time giving for the club. The club recognition summary and many of our reports have a very cool summary page on the end of the report, usually, where it will show you, kind of describe what everything means on the report. And here you can see what each level of Paul Harris Fellow is and what amount it falls under and what PIN is received when a person or a club member achieves that next level. The Club Foundation Banner Report is available to club and district leaders as well, and it can be used to identify member and club engagement with the foundation by showing the club's progress towards achieving club giving banners and individual member giving status. The club snapshot at the top includes information such as every Rotarian every year percentage, per capita giving, and the density of members with Paul Harris Society giving capacity. You'll also be able to see a snapshot of information on each individual club member's giving in these recognition categories for the year. It will show you the dollar amounts. It will not show you the dollar amounts, but it will give you indicators such as whether they've made their every Rotarian every year eligible gift of $25 to the annual fund or Paul Harris Society eligible gift of $1,000. This report will also show you which members utilize Rotary Direct. And I just wanted to share, while we have some time, also 2 strategies that I like to work with district and club leaders on. And those include recognition and thanking. And no matter what level of gift our donors give, or if they've been giving for a year, or if it's their first time gift, recognizing and thanking is so important. I used to work in the Rotary Support Center before I became an annual giving officer, and I'm sure Sandy's heard this story many of times from me. And one thing I heard most often there is our donors calling and saying, I donated, I became a Paul Harris Fellow, but I have not received my PIN and I have not been recognized. So why should I continue to give to the Rotary Foundation? So it's important as club foundation chairs, as club presidents, as club officers, that if you receive a PIN, that you're recognizing those individuals when they've achieved each level of Paul Harris Fellow or major donor status or whatever recognition level that they're achieving. So make sure you're thanking them, make sure you're thanking your first-time donors, sending a note or just a brief call or recognizing them during those club meetings. You can also offer matching points campaigns to help you with annual giving strategies. There's various forms of matching points campaigns. Some clubs and districts will have a campaign in the last quarter of the year. Some will run a campaign for the whole year. You can match all donations. You can match individuals to help them to get to their first Paul Harris Fellow. So let's say if they needed $500 to get to their Paul Harris Fellow, they can give $250 and your club can give 250 points. So the world is your oyster when it comes to matching points campaigns. If your club has the points available, they're definitely useful in recognizing individuals and getting them to contribute to the Rotary Foundation. The club recognition summary will show you how many points your club has available to use towards a campaign. It will also show you, as I mentioned, how many points each individual has. If you see an individual that has a lot of points, you may want to reach out to them and ask if they'd be willing to share some with your club leadership to be able to offer Paul Harris Fellows. I wanted to share a couple of campaigns that we have coming out in the next few weeks, and that you'll be seeing probably either in your email or your mail. And the first is our Give the Gift of Rotary, and this should be going out to almost everyone in the US and Canada. And that's just end of year appeal that we sent out, and it shows what a gift to the Rotary Foundation, regardless of size, can assist with, and some information that you'd be able to share with individuals in your club. And then, of course, Giving Tuesday is coming up at the end of November, and that's the last Tuesday of November, and we'll be participating in that as well again. So you'll see, or may have already seen today, actually, something in your email about Giving Tuesday. It's coming out either today or tomorrow, and with a link to our Giving Tuesday website. And I want to share with you lastly, Raise for Rotary, which is our new online peer-to-peer fundraising, newer, I should say, not new, peer-to-peer fundraising platform. And if you're looking to raise money towards polio or the World Fund or any of our areas of focus, this is a great tool to use. It's now offered in Canadian funds as well. You can do it as an individual fundraiser, as a club fundraiser, as a district fundraiser, and you're able to have Rotarians and non-Rotarians contribute to through the platform. And now we have the option for non-Rotarians to add the club name, so that the club makes sure that they receive the credit for the donation as well. And this is a great way to raise funds towards the Rotary Foundation, with the exception of annual fund share. Unfortunately, we don't have that option available on the platform, but who knows what the future will hold. But it is a great way to raise funds towards our foundation. So I just want to bring it back to what could we do with that additional $10,000 in your club or district? Well, with the tools that I've shared with you, and by increasing every return every year percentage from that 46.6% to 75, 80, 85, 100%, increasing commitments to the Paul Harris Society, and engaging our donors in projects and sharing the Rotary story, we can make a lot of good things happen. And I just want to say once more, thank you so much for your time. And I'm happy to answer, if we have time, some questions. And
if anybody has any questions, just go ahead and ask, because I can't see everybody here. One of the things that Edina did tell me the one time about that I've used in our own club is these matching points. I don't know if people really know how important they are, and you can use them for so many different things, not just to get people to Paul Harris, to get them to start. Maybe a new member that's just joined, that you've talked to them about the foundation, say, if you give $100, we'll match you and do $100. So that's another way to do. Has anybody tried the matching points?
I don't quite understand the matching points and why we even get points when if I donate $1,000, I get 1,000 points. Is that it? And why?
that's correct. So if you donate $1,000, you'll also receive 1,000 recognition points. And that's so that you can honor someone with a Paul Harris Fellow if you'd like, or to help them to get to their first or second or subsequent Paul Harris Fellow. That is the sole purpose of these recognition points, is so that our donors have the option to pay it forward and honor someone else, whether it be a business or an individual, family. We have many that honor family members, community members with a Paul Harris Fellow. It's a nice recognition to be able to bestow on to someone.
Okay, so if I have a bunch of points, I can give some of them to, I know I told the club, there was something one day I told them, oh, use my points if you want, whatever they are, but I didn't really understand them. I just knew I had a bunch.
If you have a lot of points, you definitely you can pass them to someone, or you can give permission as you have to your club to recognize individuals.
Edina, am I? Yeah, I'm not on mute. Keith Jones here. Thank you so much for this. The one thing I was going to ask about, you covered, and that was the Rotary Recognition Summary, or the Club Recognition Summary. I'm new as the foundation officer, and I had seen this report, and it's very, very helpful. So how do I get and find the club recognition summary? Can you remind me how to do that?
Of course, you have to make sure you have a My Rotary account.
Yep.
So you would go to myrotary.org and enroll in My Rotary if you haven't done so already. Once you've done that, your account should be linked to your role in your club. So if you're a club foundation chair, it will give you access to these reports. And then you would just go at the top banner, you'll see foundation, the Rotary Foundation. You're going to hover over the Rotary Foundation, and on the drop down that appears, click on Foundation Reports. And that will bring you to the report section. And there you scroll down to the club giving section.
That's great. Thank you. I'm glad to get that. Something I want to comment on, and this is something that bugged me when I was president. You send out the Paul Harris pins, and they're the multiple pins for multiple gatherings with the sapphires and whatever. And it always bothered me or bugged me more than anything else was that it would arrive in the mail with a packing slip. There was no letter, nothing, just a packing slip. And in the small print, it would include the name of the recipient, but it was in pretty small print on a packing slip. And I've always thought, we make a big deal out of the Paul Harris Fellows when we award them. We do get a certificate and the pin. It just seems to me that you're missing the boat here. A computer could generate a great letter based on the giving of the individual. And I would recommend to you that you consider doing that when sending out the multiple Paul Harris Fellows to the president. And finally, multiple Paul. No, I think that's it for me. I've got a question for Sandy later, but that's it. Thank you, Edina.
Thank you,
very
Keith.
helpful.
And I can definitely pass that on. That's not my area, the sending out of the Paul Harris Fellows, but I'm happy to pass that information on. I think the thought process behind that is that the club president or foundation chair will recognize the individual with the Paul Harris Fellow pin and say some words during a club meeting. So
that's what we do. It just would be nice to have a letter again that can be computer generated, but a recognition letter to in that person's name would be nice.
I will definitely pass that on.
Thank you, Keith. And I can say, Edina, I have had a lot of presidents call me asking who was the person. And it is, Keith is saying, it's there in very small print who it is. So if that I agree with you on that.
And if I could chime in too, it'd be helpful to know if we can customize who gets the pins. In our club, our executive secretary gets the pins and not the TRF chair or the president. And I don't know if there's a way to customize that.
No,
Okay.
So typically it's the president. The one exception is if there is an executive secretary, and not many of our clubs have executive secretaries, but so it's mostly going to our club presidents. If there is an executive secretary, it will go to the executive secretary. If not, it goes to the auto is the club president. We've had that request many a times. Unfortunately, we can't change it unless you're requesting a points transfer. Then you can ask who you would like it shipped to. But for the auto-generated one, it automatically goes to those two roles.
But I think Edina is right. Sorry, Erin, I was going to say, Edina is right, though. When they come, we must make sure to give them out, because I know I was told by one person who shall remain nameless, it was thrown to her at the end of at her car. Let's not do that type of thing.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
And several years ago, I feel like there was a suggested remarks in the pin distribution when we got the pins.
Maybe that's something we can work on in the newsletter.
Now they're not. Yeah.
I can definitely pass that on. I don't know, with Rotary trying to go paperless, I don't know if they would start including them. I will tell you, when it comes to Rotary, Google is your friend. So if you're ever looking for remarks or anything on our website, you can just Google it. So if you type in Paul Harris Fellow Remarks, so many different versions of the remarks pop up on the internet.
Edina, the question that's come in the chat, are you going to be, can you give us your slides so that they can go back and look?
Yeah, I'd be happy to share my
Yeah.
slides.
I have recorded it as well for everybody. Glenn, I know you have no voice.
Well, I have a little voice and I have one
Okay.
quick question. And Edina, I don't know if you can answer this, but I'd like you to pass this on. It's regard to every Rotarian every year and sustaining members and satellite clubs, which my club has just started. But in order to achieve every Rotarian every year and sustaining members, that means the satellite club members have to contribute to that as well.
Every active member that's listed on your, every active dues paying member, I should clarify, has to contribute for the club to qualify for every Rotarian every year club banner. So if they are on your dues roster, then yes.
And if, I guess as the foundation chair and somebody who's been trying to get our club to every Rotarian every year for a long time, our satellite club has a bit of a, they just started, has a bit of a different focus, and they may not be as focused on the Rotary Foundation as our club, and pass on to your bosses that perhaps they need to look at every Rotarian every year in regards to satellite clubs, because some satellite clubs may not be focusing on the foundation, maybe more community oriented or whatever. I mean, I would hope that they would be, but I had a conversation this weekend with our chair of our satellite club, and I don't know if that's going to be their focus, and so it may be hard for us to get to where we want to get to. So
yeah, I'd be happy to pass that on to other members of the foundation that work more closely with the satellite clubs and the club banners, and see if in the future that could even be brought up to. It is, I believe, a trustee decision and in the end, so it would have to be brought up to that level.
and I just want to make one comment on Rotary Direct to the people online here. If you haven't got your club on Rotary Direct, I was astonished that we have only 113 members in our district on Rotary Direct. I'm proud to say that my club has 23 of those 113 members.
Wow.
And it is, you guys, it is so easy. You don't need to worry about them contributing every year, asking for checks, asking them. It is so easy to do. I've been on it since 2001, I believe, and it just comes out of your bank account. Well, yeah, it comes out of your bank account. It just, or credit card, where I guess credit card where we're putting them now, I guess. But if your club is not promoting Rotary Direct, it is the way to get. It makes it so easy. You don't need to ask for money every year. You just have to monitor that their credit card expiry is.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. And Glenn's not supposed to be talking, not because I don't want him to talk. His doctor has told him not to talk for his larynx. Joan, you have your hand up.
Yes, I have two things. I just wanted to review, Edina, you said to sign up for my Rotary page. I thought you said at rotary.org, and then I thought you said at myrotary.org. Which
So, both.
okay.
It's both. You can go to rotary.org and then link to myrotary.org,
right.
or you can go directly to myrotary.org.
Second comment, it's more a comment than anything, and I hope it's also a suggestion. I go to meetings a lot when I'm down in the Bahamas in Freeport to different clubs, and every week, I think every week I've been there, almost every week, somebody, the foundation chair of the club, gets up and gives a Rotary Foundation minute. And that information comes from the district chairman. And it just keeps them all quite cognizant of the Rotary Foundation. And I wondered if we could do something like that in our district. It'd probably be the district chair, whoever it is, foundation would get, I don't know if they get it, all the information from the site or what, but I mean, one week it might be something about the $26.50 that started it out. Another week it might be something about Polio Plus or something, but it's only supposed to be a minute. And I'm one with a watch. I time them, they're usually less than a minute, but it keeps the Rotary Foundation information right at the club level all the time. Our club doesn't think anything about, they don't hardly ever say anything about the Rotary Foundation. So
I'll talk to you on that in just a second, Joan. I'm going to if anybody doesn't have any more questions for Edina, I'm going to let her go. because I know she has other things to do, and I appreciate you coming from Chicago.
My pleasure. I'm getting ready to visit our friends in Michigan tomorrow, so I'm flying out bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to visit a few districts in Michigan. So thank you so much for having me. I really
Do you have
appreciate
time
being here.
do you have time for a quick comment?
I
Edina,
do.
Paul Lehman, new district coordinator for Paul Harris Society. Here stateside, at least, for these clubs, we know that the IRS, the income tax thresholds for itemizing changed, a lot higher standard deduction, and particularly for older members. If you have an IRA or several IRAs, you do have a required minimum distribution. And so, at least for me, near the end of the year, no, I don't do Rotary Direct, but hey, I never pay income tax on my contributions to the foundation because I direct some of that in that manner. And I don't know that we can get that personal with people, but obviously there are very generous donors to all kinds of charitables for which that doesn't apply. They may be younger than 70 and a half, but we have plenty of Rotarians that are 70 and a half and are in that situation, as I see it.
That's a great point. We do have on the state side the IRA minimum required distribution, and we have instructions on our website as well if anyone's interested in that. It's fairly simple to process. It does have to be received before the end of the calendar year for it to qualify in this year. And Paul, thank you for saying something because I didn't see you before. Paul and I have communicated several times via email, so it's nice to finally see you face to face. But I do want to also bring up real quickly before I go something with Paul Harris Society and Rotary Direct, and it's a conversation Paul and I have been having when our friends on the Canadian side of the border enroll in Rotary Direct. There is unfortunately the issue of the exchange rate that can impact sometimes your Paul Harris Society membership. And that's something Paul and I are discovering with some individuals in the district. So if you are a Paul Harris Society member or have Paul Harris Society members in your club, something to keep in mind is if they're on Rotary Direct, that a couple of months ago, the contribution might have been meeting that Paul Harris Society commitment. And unfortunately at this time, because of the exchange rate, it may not be. So that exchange rate gets everyone on the other side of the border. I'm so sorry, but I did want to bring it to your attention too as something that does come up.
Thank you for being a tremendous help to me in my new
You're
role.
welcome. My pleasure.
Thanks, Edina.
Thank you everyone for having me. I really appreciated being here. Thank you, Sandy, for the invite, and hope to see everyone in person one day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, I hope everybody found that helpful. I always learn something from it. I wanted to go on Joan's comment on the Rotary Minute and that. How many people here, hands up, have been getting my newsletter that I send out every month on the 15th of the month? Good. I'm glad to see that. Up until about a month ago, I always have put in what 2 minutes talks you could do, Joan, in there. 2 minutes talks to get up at not 1 minute, unfortunately, just 2 minutes. Some of the clubs use them. Some of the clubs use the others. They do come, some of them come from myself. Some of them come from Aaron. Some of them come from Leslie. And I do get 90% of them from RI, from our zone director. She sends us every week. She sends me one thing on them, and so I compile them and put them in there. Are people finding the newsletter handy or finding it informational, or should we stop doing it, or
Don't stop doing it.
Oh, it's
don't
great.
stop doing? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Good.
So that's one of the places you can get that. But Joan, probably the easiest way for you to do to get permission from your board is you need to talk to your president and ask them, can you do a 1 minute talk each week on it? I did that as when I was foundation chair. It's up to you to go and ask them.
Well, that'd be no problem. I just tell them.
Yeah, well, that's sometimes the best way.
Yeah.
And giving little tidbits does help everybody all the time. There's no doubt about that. So I was going to ask a couple questions while I have everybody here. See if I can do my one poll. Well, first of all, let me do this poll here. Let's see what you are. Most of the people here today.
What's District 7090, Sandy?
Oh, just that you're like Lisa Bishop.
Oh,
You're just
Never-
somebody that's part of, you're not in your club anything, but you're just a district person. So I didn't know where to put her.
I don't
But
get
she-
to vote. I don't get to vote. I don't see it. I'm looking at the results
Oh,
here.
it should
What
let
if
you
what if we're
vote.
more than one?
Most that you just the most important, which is foundation chair. Most of you are foundation chairs, which is great. Sharing the results there. So that's what most of you are. I'm going to stop sharing that. I'm going to ask. Wanted to do the next question. Would anybody like to do another one of these sessions? You really didn't get a lot into because we were doing Edina today, but one of our things we were in our questions last year, the polls, not from us, but when you asked Anne asked the questions, this is what people wanted. You guys wanted an individual that was based on foundation or based on something else. So let's see, was it a waste of time? Not a waste of time is kind of my question. I think I learned a lot today. I'm gonna, and that looks like most people are I found it.
Sandy
Yep.
and David Dengler from Dunkirk, Fredonia. No.
Mhm.
Helpful, kind of a watered down version of that presentation. You know, or
She gave too much.
it was a lot of information.
Yeah, it was. I
but-
thought that too. That's why I wanted it taped. And this is my favorite question now. What is it you guys do at your club? And you could do multiple things. So if you do a Paul Harris event, if you help the president with their goals, talk to the members about foundation. You have no tasks at all that are listed just here. You just do the grants, or maybe you help with the endowment. Or maybe there's something I missed there that you're doing.
I'm not sure. What do we put if we're not sure? I mean,
Other.
Other.
I know, Joan, you talk to people about polio. I know that.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna share everybody here. I'm gonna share the results. So you're saying that most of you guys are doing a little bit of everything. There's only one person, the task that I have isn't listed. Nobody's doing endowment fund, so that might be something we could maybe talk about another time as well. One of the biggest questions I probably get asked the most is how to do a Paul Harris event. What should I do for a Paul Harris event? I think Lisa's going to tell you the same thing too. She gets asked that quite a bit as well.
Or also, how do you award a Paul Harris for giving, or if it's or someone's being honored? So the actual process of doing that, not just applying, but the process of giving the award, and recognizing, you may have talked about it already, and
No, I
talking
didn't.
about the giving that the person is committed to and that level. You don't need to necessarily give the amounts, but calling it a Paul Harris +1, a Paul Harris +6.
So this is something that I have put in one of the newsletters that's out there, and all the newsletters are there. You can go back and see them. Tell you basically what when RI says for your club president to pick a foundation chair, what should they do? This is a committee should do these things. This isn't necessarily just you. So I know St. Catherine's Club, Leslie said you stopped having just a foundation chair. You have a committee that does different parts of it. So I'm not going to just read it all to you, but it kind of, I'll send it out again because it really showcases
do.
what a foundation chair really should do. And
Yeah,
I really think,
Read it. Can't read it.
no, I've got it. Oops, sorry. I have got it in one of the newsletters, but I'll send it out again because that's the question, especially for you presidents and presidents-elect. How do I find somebody to be a chair? What should they do? You know, on it. So what I'd like to do right now, because I believe that we should be out in time. I would like to I was going to do a breakout room, but instead I think I'll just, because we only had 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just put the floor open to any of you. Tell me something that you think your club does, which is really important for being a club chair, that you think maybe it would help another club. Is there anybody that can help
I'll
on
jump
that?
in
Thanks,
right
Keith.
off the
And
get-go.
then John D.
And we found that you really have to differentiate between the two types of Paul Harris Awards. One is where it's an award for community activity, special things that people have done in the club, a recognition that's got really nothing to do with money, although there is some money involved, there's points, but it's a recognition of something they've done in the community. We segregate that from the awarding and recognition to those members who are giving. And we make sure, at least I make sure, that we really talk it up, the importance of the foundation, the importance of the giving, the fact that they're now receiving a multiple pin, and the importance of all of that. But we keep them very separate because one is a recognition of community effort. Another is and should not be diminished in any way, a recognition of their financial contribution. So
Thanks, Keith.
that's
And
how we do it.
remember, and people remember that Lisa and I will come to any of those events if you ask us. We love coming to Paul Harris events. John.
Yes, Sandy, thank you. We do a membership minute, and we're doing a giving challenge during the months of November and December. So a number of us are going to match contributions this year. Thea Convery, many of you may know of Thea, is speaking to our club on the 16th, and she's not matching this year, but members of our club will match the others as well. So that's what we do, and we're going to recognize the two types of Paul Harris Fellows this year, perhaps in March, as part of our fundraising dinner, if we have one, if not a special club meeting.
Great. Anybody else have something they think is really important? Julio.
I got a question. If does any club here have, like, for example, to get every Rotarian every year award type of thing? If some members are not able to do it, like other members supplement it, is that something that it's allowed to do?
You're not allowed to do that. It has to come from the member, Julio. That's what the every Rotarian every year, which works out to 88 cents US a week is what it works out to be with it. Unfortunately, that. Well, one of the things that I have, speaking of the every Rotarian every year, there is 7 clubs this year that have accomplished that. And on November 19th at St. Catherine's Museum, we are hosting our annual awards banquet. It's not a banquet, it's snacks and stuff. It's going to be from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. I'd really like it if you could try to attend it and bring a new member with you, somebody that doesn't know anything about foundation. What is foundation? We're going to start the day talking about district grants. We have 2 district grants, one from the US side, one from the Canadian side, that we're going to do. And then we're going to focus on all the every one of the district grants that we did last year will be there. We're also going to be doing one of the scholarship winners will be there. We have global grants will be there. There's a couple global grant people. Thea is going to be there giving out the polio awards. We have 31 clubs this year that did the 1,500 last year. And she's also being honored for being an Arch Clumb Society member, which is $250,000 a year. We only have one other club that has anybody that's ever done that, which is Niagara Falls. We're also going to be having Valerie Wafer's going to be there giving out awards as well. So major donors are going to be, somebody who's given 10,000 is going to be celebrated. Somebody who's a member of Paul Harris Society the new members are going to be done as well. So it's going to be 3 hours with breaks in there of learning about where your money gets spent and why we need the money to continue. As Edina said, that $10,000, if we had $10,000 more, how much more we could do with it. And I know it's hard sometimes to get a new members to get them started on what is foundation. I know a lot of your clubs have your own foundations. So how do you get them to do our foundation instead of the other? At the last meeting I was at, Edina suggested, why doesn't your foundation give the first money to our foundation, to the Rotary Foundation? And I thought, why can't they? There's no reason a foundation can't give to another foundation. And what I always do when I finish my meetings, because I always like to finish on time, I always give the last words to the district governor. And I know she's ready, right there, ready to go.
Well, we all have a commitment as Rotarians to the three things that Karen Oakes said when I was inducted into Rotary: to raise awareness about the Rotary Foundation and get grants, to raise money to give to the Rotary Foundation, and as able as individuals. And as able, it's hard for some to find that money, but if we don't have a meal, or we don't have 2 meals, or we do something, that gives an opportunity for the newer, younger member, or the member that maybe is finding it a challenge to get that $25, I believe it is, to be able to be every Rotarian every year. But it's not all about money. It's about being qualified to apply for grants for local and international projects, because that's what Rotary is all about. That's our backbone within the world. And I thank everybody for being here, and I look forward to seeing everyone on the 19th of November. It's going to be a time of celebration, really making that connection between that dollar that you raise doing a hot dog sale or a bottle return, that dollar, when it comes back, what it does through the grants. It's going to make that connection so that new members will really understand that.
Thank you, Lisa. I want to thank all of you guys. I think I was the club foundation chair as well. Sometimes I think it's a job that nobody wants to do. It's hard to ask, because what you're doing is you're asking people for money, but also please also try to always tell them what they do with the money. And I think that's the most important. So I really appreciate all of you, and I celebrate all you foundation chairs with what you do. I forgot to introduce any of my committee that is here. I have at the bottom, my screen's the bottom, Leslie Murch is the head of the grants. So she makes sure thanks, Leslie. She makes sure all the, she has a lot of committees underneath her. Leslie, who all do you have? You have vocational training?
Yeah. Scholarship, vocational training team, and
District grants.
yes, district grants.
Yeah. And Aaron at the top of my screen, he is our district grants this year. He's looking after all the district grants, and he is having a seminar in January for that. So I probably won't do another one of these till February, because you guys will be busy with all that. On my grants is John from Orchard Park. He is on the grants committee. Paul, of course, is the Paul Harris Society head of that. And you have some members in your club. You give what you can afford, and I honestly believe that. And Julio, I know it's hard to say $25 is a lot for some people, and I appreciate that. But as Lisa said, maybe we need to go without a coffee a week or a meal a week, and we can at least do the 25. But there are people in our clubs that can afford $1,000, can afford 2,000, or like the 250. Please reach out to them with Paul's help. He would love to help you to do that. And who else is? I don't know if anybody else on the committee is there. It's just all you guys that work hard. And Julio is going to be my right-hand computer guy on the 19th as well. So I thank you. So I thank you all. So we did it under 6 o'clock. If anybody had a question for me, and I know Keith, you did, if you wanted to stay and ask me, I'm here for you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sandy, for organizing this.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you, foundation chairs, for all your efforts as well.
Thanks, Leslie.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good night.